The cop who picked the wrong woman, Maya. Thompson always said the same thing every morning before leaving home. "I'll be back before dinner, don't worry." But that night she didn't make it back on time. And when I finally learned why, my hands shook with a rage I didn't know I was capable of feeling. It started around 7:42 p.m. a time I remember vividly because I had planned to make her favorite Cajun chicken, and she was never late when I cooked. Maya was the kind of woman who texted if she was running even 10 minutes behind. But tonight, nothing. No call, no text, no read receipts. I told myself she was probably stuck in traffic, maybe helping one of her clients after hours. As a community counselor, Maya often stayed late comforting abused teens or helping single mothers fight eviction. She was the most patient woman in town, someone everyone trusted. Everyone. Except Officer Drake. Drake was the kind of cop who made entire neighborhoods tense up when he cruised by. He had that smirk, the one that said he didn't enforce the law. He controlled it. He already had complaints filed against him for excessive force, profiling, abuse of authority, but none stuck. Every report magically disappeared before reaching the chief's desk, replaced by glowing commendations from nowhere. And tonight, Maya crossed his path at the wrong time. According to witnesses, she was driving down Willow Creek Road, coming back from the youth center, still in her work clothes, neat blouse, ID badge hanging from her lanyard, hair tied back the way she liked when she was exhausted but still wanted to look composed. She wasn't speeding. She wasn't swerving. She wasn't even on her phone. But Drake didn't need a reason. He pulled behind her, flashed his lights, and performed the kind of stop you only see when chasing a wanted criminal. Tires screeched. His boots stomped across the pavement. He banged on her window with a flashlight like he was cracking open a walnut. License and registration. He barked before she could speak. Maya, always calm, responded the same way she had taught countless teenagers to respond in tense moments. "Officer, can you tell me why I'm being pulled over?" Wrong question. Drake yanked open her door so hard the hinges groaned. Maya barely had time to unbuckle before he grabbed her arm and dragged her out. Witnesses said he slammed her chest first onto the hood. She cried out not in fear, but shock. "You match the description of a suspect," he added, tightening his grip. "What suspect?" she asked, still trying to remain composed. Drake scoffed. "Don't question me." He didn't call on the stop. Didn't turn on his body cam. Didn't check ID, because he didn't care who she was. Because he thought she was powerless. Because he saw a woman driving alone at night and assumed she was an easy target. He didn't know he had just laid hands on the chief's wife. He didn't know. Marcus Thompson was at home pacing the kitchen, staring at the cold Cajun chicken, wondering why my wife hadn't called. He didn't know that the missing person report I filed would instantly reach the highest levels of the department. He didn't know the dashboard cam from a nearby mechanic shop had captured him, pinning my wife against the hood for no reason, and he definitely didn't know that Maya's phone had been recording the entire time in her pocket, sending audio clips directly to our shared cloud. But that was later. At that moment, Maya tried to tell him who she was. "Sir, my name is Maya Thomp." "Shut up," Drake snapped. He shoved her harder, pressing her cheek to the cold metal until she winced. Her ID badge clinked against the hood, dangling uselessly. One witness yelled from across the street, "Officer, she didn't do anything." Drake drew his taser and pointed it at the man. "Back off or you're next." Maya trembled not from fear for herself, but fear that an innocent bystander would get hurt trying to defend her. She tried to de-escalate again. "My husband is don't care," Drake said. "You people always think you're above the law, you people." Those words echoed in Maya's mind, slicing deeper than the bruises forming on her arms. The bystander immediately called 911. "A cop is assaulting a woman," he said, breathlessly. Dispatch asked for the officer's badge. Badge number? "I can't." He covered it. Meaning one thing, he knew exactly what he was doing. Maya's voice trembled. "Please just let me get my ID. I'm not who you think I am." "I know exactly what you are." He pressed her wrists together behind her back, tightening the cuffs to the second notch illegal unless resisting arrest. I didn't do anything, she whispered. Drake leaned close, his breath hot and disgusting against her ear. You'll be quiet unless you want more trouble. Those words sent a rage through her veins she had never felt. She wasn't powerless, but he wanted her to feel that way. He wanted dominance, control, fear. But Maya was not easily broken. Turn on your body cam, she said, steady but shaking. Drake froze for a second. The audacity of her request infuriated him. I said quiet. He shoved her again, but he didn't know one thing. Maya's phone, still recording, had captured everything. Every insult, every threat, every shove, at exactly 8:21 p.m. The recording auto-uploaded to our cloud. I was sitting on the couch, panic turning into dread, when my phone dinged. A new audio file. From Maya. At first I thought she had finally messaged me, but when I opened it, I froze. I heard her voice. Then I heard his dot. And then I heard the words that made my vision go red. You'll be quiet unless you want more trouble. My entire world stopped in that moment. I ceased being a husband making dinner. I became a storm. I grabbed my keys, my badge, and my radio, because Officer Drake had no idea the woman he assaulted was married to Chief Marcus Thompson, and I was coming. I don't remember driving. I don't remember buckling my seatbelt or backing out of the driveway. All I remember is a roaring in my ears, a burning behind my eyes, and one thought pulsing through my skull like a heartbeat. He laid hands on my wife. I flew down Willow Creek, rode with red and blue lights blazing from the unmarked SUV. Every second felt like a blade digging under my ribs. Dispatch tried calling out through the radio, Chief Thompson, we can send units. I ignored them. I didn't want units. I wanted Drake. When I turned the last corner, I saw her. Maya, my wife. My gentle, brilliant, soft-spoken wife, bent over the hood of her own car like a criminal, hands cuffed, face pressed to metal, hair disheveled, and behind her stood Officer Drake, arms crossed, smirking like he had just broken in a new toy. The sight cracked something inside me. I slammed the SUV to a stop so hard the tires screamed. I was out before the engine stopped shaking. People on the sidewalk gasped. Even Drake turned, confused because the unmarked vehicle didn't look like patrol. He didn't recognize me. Not yet. Hey, he barked. This is an active D-tie. I walked straight past him, straight to Maya. Her eyes lifted when she heard my voice. Maya, I whispered, forcing my trembling hands to touch her cheek gently, so gently that if rage were fire, I was handling her like glass. Her voice cracked. Marcus. He didn't let me explain. He didn't even ask for my ID. It's okay. I'm here. I reached for the cuffs. Drake stepped forward. Sir, step away from the detainee. I turned toward him, letting my badge fall from where it hung around my neck. Chief Gold. Undeniable. He froze. Mid-dash step, the blood drained from his face. His mouth cracked open. You're Chief Thompson? And you, I said, stepping toward him, are a disgrace to the badge you wear. The crowd watching from the street grew silent. Even the air felt heavy. I took another step. You pulled over a woman without cause. Another step. You used excessive force. Another. You violated department protocol. Another. You never activated your body cam. Finally stopping inches from his face. And you assaulted the wife of the chief of police. His lips trembled. I didn't know you didn't care. I pulled Maya gently off the hood, uncuffed her myself, and walked her toward the bystanders. A woman came rushing forward with a blanket. I saw everything, she said. We all did. Maya held the blanket close, breathing shakily. I turned back to Drake. Every muscle in my body wanted to break him. But Maya's fingers brushed my arm, one small reminder, do it the right way. Don't become him. It's the right way. The hard way. The legal way. I raised my radio. Dispatch, this is Chief Thompson. I need internal affairs on Willow Creek Road. Officer Drake is being placed under immediate suspension pending investigation. Send transport. The street exploded into murmurs. Drake stepped back. "This is a misunderstanding, no officer," I said. "A misunderstanding is forgetting paperwork. This was abuse." IA arrived within minutes, 3 investigators and a sergeant. It looked like he'd aged 3 years the moment he saw the scene. They separated witnesses, took statements, photographed Maya's wrists, and replayed her audio recording. Every second of the recording brought a new shade of horror to their faces. "You'll be quiet unless you want more trouble." When that line played, the sergeant lowered his head. "We have enough to charge him," he said quietly. Drake exploded. "This is political. This is a setup. You can't ruin my career over one traffic stop." "Traffic stop," I repeated. I stepped closer, eyes locked on his. "You pulled over my wife because of her skin color." He opened his mouth, then shut it, because he knew it. Everyone watching knew it. IA escorted him to a cruiser, hands cuffed the same cuffs he used on innocent people. "You're making a mistake," he yelled as they pushed him inside. She didn't listen. She was resisting. I turned my back to him. Maya leaned against the SUV, arms wrapped around herself. When I reached her, she collapsed into me, sobbing silently into my chest. I was so scared. "Marcus, I thought he was going to hurt me." I held her tighter, grounding every shaking breath she took. "I will never let that happen again." For the next hour, the neighborhood became a crime scene, officers measuring skid marks. Street cameras pulled, body cam violations documented. News vans arrived faster than I expected, their lights bright in the darkening sky. One reporter stepped forward. "Chief Thompson, can you confirm rumors that Officer Drake assaulted your wife?" I stared straight into the camera. "He assaulted a woman. He violated the law, and he will face the consequences." Maya squeezed my hand, proud and trembling. When we finally made it home, she moved like someone carrying invisible weight, fragile but unbroken. I made her tea, sat with her, and listened as she recounted every detail. "Marcus, why did he do it? Why target me? I didn't sugarcoat it because he thought you were alone. Because he thought you had no power? Because he thought you were an easy target." Her eyes filled again, but this time with fire. He was wrong. That night I called the mayor, then the city attorney, then the union director. One by one they listened. One by one they agreed. Drake was done. But the storm wasn't over. The next morning I walked into the station. Silence followed me like a shadow. Officers avoided eye contact. Some nodded respectfully. Some looked ashamed. Some looked scared because they knew something. I didn't know yet. Drake wasn't acting alone. Ia approached me with files complaints that had been buried. Reports that never reached my desk. Body cam footage mysteriously erased. A pattern. A network. A system. One corrupt cop didn't scare me. But a system protecting him? That was war. And for the first time I realized Maya's assault wasn't an isolated incident. It was a warning shot. A message from someone inside the department. A message that said, "Back off." But they forgot one thing. You don't threaten a chief's wife. You don't assault her. And you don't think the chief won't burn down an entire system to protect her? This wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about exposure, reckoning, revenge. The following week was like living inside a pressure cooker. Every day, more files appeared on my desk. Hidden complaints, emails, screenshots of texts threatening witnesses, and logs showing body cams deactivated at crucial moments. Drake wasn't just a rogue cop. He was the tip of an iceberg, carefully protected iceberg. I sat in my office, Maya beside me, going through every single report. The corruption wasn't subtle. It was brazen. Officers covering for officers. Evidence disappearing. Complainants silenced. Drake had been emboldened because no one had ever stopped him. Until now. The first phone call came from the city attorney. "Chief Thompson," he said, voice tight. "If what you've uncovered is accurate, this could shake the entire department to its core. Drake isn't the only one implicated." I nodded slowly, my jaw tight. "We have to bring it all into the light." Later that morning, I convened a special meeting. Internal affairs, the city attorney, and a few trustworthy senior officers were present. I opened the first file. Photos, timestamps, police logs, and audio recordings from civilians. Drake's assault of my wife, I began, was not an isolated act. It's symptomatic of a culture of impunity inside this department. We have names, evidence, and proof. This ends now. The room went silent. Some faces paled. Others shifted nervously, but all knew the truth. The era of silence was over. Meanwhile, news of Drake's suspension and Maya's assault spread through social media like wildfire. Witnesses uploaded their phone recordings. Dashcam footage leaked. Local news outlets caught wind, turning a seemingly ordinary incident into a viral sensation. The public outrage was immediate. Memes circulated. Editorials were written, and Drake's name became synonymous with abuse of power. I focused on strategy. Drake's defenders were already whispering in hallways, trying to frame me as overreacting, as abusing authority. But the recordings, combined with prior hidden complaints, made it impossible to defend him. He had no chance. And those who protected him now had to choose. Come clean or go down with him. Then the call came that made my stomach twist. One of the investigators whispered, "Chief, we have reason to believe Drake's been tampering with evidence. Going back years, he may have framed other officers, and some complaints against him were buried intentionally." I stared at the ceiling. A sick realization washed over me. This wasn't just about protecting Maya. This was bigger. This was the entire department's credibility on the line. I scheduled a press conference. Maya, poised and strong, stood beside me. The cameras rolled, capturing every detail. I explained the assault, Drake's abuse of authority, and the ongoing investigation into the corruption network. Maya's voice added credibility and strength as she detailed her experience. The city was stunned. People called into the news station demanding accountability. Social media exploded, and every officer implicated began to sweat. Drake's lawyer tried to spin the story, claiming excessive allegations and biased reporting, but it fell flat. The evidence was overwhelming. Audio recordings, witnesses, internal logs, video footage. Everything was on the table as the investigation deepened. One by one, officers who had once shielded Drake started to confess. Some begged for immunity. Some tried to place blame on others. But the damage was done. Drake's web of corruption unraveled faster than anyone could anticipate. Meanwhile, Maya and I worked to ensure victims of his misconduct were contacted, supported, and heard. Survivors of harassment, intimidation, and abuse came forward. Their testimonies, corroborated with evidence, painted a damning portrait of a culture of fear. It was relentless, exhausting, terrifying. But we were finally in control. Then the climax, the internal report. The damning evidence was compiled into a 300-page report detailing every act of misconduct, every suppressed complaint, and every instance of abuse of power. Drake was fired immediately. Criminal charges were filed for assault, abuse of authority, and tampering with evidence. The public rejoiced. Maya's courage had not only protected herself, but exposed corruption that threatened the integrity of our police force. But victory wasn't without a cost. Drake had enemies beyond me. Rumors of threats, intimidation, and retaliation began to surface. Some questioned whether we had made him desperate enough to strike back. But Maya remained resolute. "Marcus," she said one evening, "we did what had to be done. People needed to know the truth. And now, maybe things can change for real." I nodded. She was right. In the weeks that followed, the department began reform. New officers were vetted carefully. Policies were rewritten. Whistleblower protections were enhanced. Community meetings were held to restore trust. Drake's arrest became a cautionary tale across the state, proof that no one is above the law. Neighbors, colleagues, and citizens reached out to Maya and me, thanking us for bravery and integrity. Her story was inspiring others. It wasn't just about one corrupt cop, it was about standing up to abuse wherever it hides. Drake, meanwhile, remained in custody, his reputation destroyed. His network of protection had collapsed entirely. Former allies turned on him. Former victims celebrated quietly in the shadows. Karma, it seemed, had arrived in full force. Maya and I returned to normal life, but with a heightened sense of vigilance. We knew corruption could return, but we had set a precedent. No abuse would be tolerated. The final twist came quietly one morning. As I sipped coffee, reviewing new protocols for the department, Maya leaned against the doorframe. "Marcus," she said, "do you realize what would have happened if you hadn't been there?" I paused, thinking of Drake's smug smirk, his arrogance, and the audacity of his assault. "I don't even want to imagine it," I said. Her eyes sparkled. "Good, because now everyone knows. Mess with the chief's wife. And the storm isn't just coming, it's here, full force." I laughed softly. "Lesson learned, forever." She smiled, and for a moment the weight of the past weeks melted away. Justice had been served. The corrupt were exposed, the victims heard, and our family was saffel, at least for now. But the story wasn't over entirely. There were whispers of internal audits, city investigations, and even Drake attempting to appeal. Yet one thing was clear: no one in this city would ever dare to target Maya again. And if they did, they would face a chief, a wife, and a community ready to unleash the consequences.